Hi everyone, welcome to another segment of Word of the Day. This is Inspire Movement and my name is Caesar. Today's word of the day is integrity. So integrity, as defined by Merriam-Webster, is the quality of being honest and also having strong moral convictions, moral principles. It's moral uprightness. When somebody has high integrity, they have strong moral and ethical convictions, and those moral and ethical convictions, they never sway. So it doesn't change by circumstance. It's going to be the same under all circumstances. When someone at the workplace is of high integrity, and usually really good leaders are, you'll see that exercised by their punctuality. They're very mindful of people's time. They don't make people wait. They're very mindful of other people's ideas. And most importantly, they're also very honest. It's been said that there are no moral shortcuts in the game of business or in the game of life. So having high integrity, high character is an amazing quality. Another thing that I can share with you is that the word integrity derives from the Latin root integer, which means one. And if you can imagine somebody that is of high integrity, they're unbroken and they're undivided. And that's meaning to say, going back to what I talked about previously, that they don't have any sort of dual morality, that at work they act a certain way, possibly at home they act a certain way, but when they're with their friends, unbeknownst to their significant other or their spouse or their co-workers, they act yet another way. So there's a dual morality, almost a different set of moral principles that they follow depending on who they're catering to at the moment. And what I can say is that if you live with that level of duplicity, you can only arrive at a life of sorrow and misery because, as I also kind of read up, a house divided against itself is a house that's destined to fail. So we definitely don't want to have a situation where we're not being consistent with who we are. If you want to also kind of put into work developing your integrity, how do you go about doing that? So the first thing is knowing that integrity is principle based. So you have to first learn what those moral principles are and put them to practice on a day-to-day basis. And as you do that, you're going to learn from your failures and you're also going to learn from your successes. So it'll be sort of that compass that you can use on a day-to-day basis. And it is a lifelong process. So it's something that we continually work on, and it'll be going in perpetuity. For as long as we're here, we're trying to make sure that we're consistent and staying within that framework that we know to be right. As I reflect on integrity myself, I can tell you, I've mentioned before in previous segments, there have been many periods in my life, just as all of us really, where I've struggled with my integrity as well. And with the issue of what I mentioned, dual morality, whereas I'm not being completely consistent and holding to the same version of myself, irregardless of the audience that I'm in. I'm not being uncompromising. I am compromising depending on the audience, and that got me into a lot of trouble in many different scenarios. And through a moment, one of the pitfalls in life, I kind of sought out a very close friend of mine, and invited him to lunch, basically. And in doing so, I posed the question to him: how is it that during the pitfalls of life, during moments of temptation, you always seem to find yourself sort of grounded and you always act the same way? And again, it's somebody that I trusted, that was of high character to me, somebody that I wanted to emulate. And his response was irrefutably his faith. So for him, his faith was his groundwork, his set of moral and ethical convictions in order for him to stay true to himself, depending on the situation he was finding himself in. Him sharing that wisdom with me and me trying to absorb it and engender that into my own life certainly was a huge change, to the point where I felt almost like in a span of so many years, a miraculous turnaround from where I was at that point when I asked the question to where I find myself today. And it is, again, an ongoing situation, an ongoing process, because we are always having to defer back to those moral principles. But the good news for all of us is that when we try to be of high integrity and high character, the beauty about this is that when a situation comes our way, we don't really have to figure out what it is that we want to do, because we already know what we have to do. What we have to do is the right thing. What we know to do is the right thing, regardless of the situation. The question that we really have to ask is, how are we going to be able to do the right thing? but we'll never have to ask ourselves, what is it that we have to do? Because our integrity is going to keep us centered, grounded, and leading a fruitful, successful, happy life. So with that, everyone, I hope that you enjoyed my reflections on the word integrity. This is a very key word. Again, please keep on contacting us. Give us some critique with the words that we're sharing with you and all the other content, whether it be our nature-related features or the fitness features that we have, or travel features. We look forward to hearing from you. Also know that we are soon going to be dropping our first product, the hip bands that my son alluded to, on Instagram, so be on the lookout for that. I hope you guys have a blessed week. Again, always a joy to be with you. See you next week.